All right, hello. Here we are, guys, for this week's episode. We're going to be talking about entitlement, how expectations lead to entitlement, and the inevitable disappointment that follows the feeling and the sense of entitlement. So, before I get off and running, I want to get us on the same page as far as defining what entitlement means when I'm talking here. So when I'm talking about entitlement, I'm talking about this feeling that you're owed something or you deserve something. That's what I mean by a sense of entitlement. And if you think about it, the sense of entitlement comes from this idea of expectations, right? To start small, expectations are just kind of a normal thing. You, as a human, you see an event and you observe it, and then a similar event happens again, and you learn to predict the outcome. You know, you're not always right, but you're kind of like, oh, it's kind of going to happen this way. So I've observed this, and this tends to lead to this. So that's a normal human thing. You take that and you mix it with the things we're taught from the outside, and that kind of comprises our belief system or our worldview. And when those two things work together, what you get is these things where your expectations start feeding your worldview. And when the rules that comprise your worldview aren't met, then you feel disappointment. You're like, that wasn't supposed to be like this. This is not right. Who do I blame? Or there's this feeling of injustice. So, so when you have this expectation that leads to a sense of entitlement, you have a bunch of expectations over time combined with your worldview lead to this sense of entitlement. Now you feel like this is how the world works. And when this happens, then this should be the outcome. Should, that's an operative word right there. You believe that this is what's supposed to happen. Because even when I say those words, it's there's the idea that I know I'm some sort of omniscient being. This should happen. So right there, that's a cue that it's a faulty belief. So you think something should happen, and when something doesn't happen as you believe it should, then that leads to disappointment, and disappointment leads to feelings of injustice, and those can lead to anger, rage, blame. Now you're aggression essentially, because you're like, well, who must I destroy to make this right? Because this is my view. The benefits of entitlement, if I had to think about it, I can only think of one. Tell me what you think about this. And the only benefit I can see for a sense of entitlement is that your ego gets to be fed. Not ego like I think I'm awesome, but ego is in your personality. This construction of stories and narratives that you tell yourself that comprise who you are. That gets to be fed when you're right. So when the outcome is exactly as you've predicted, according to your sense of entitlement, like this person owed me this and I got it, then you feel secure in the idea that this is how the world works and this just proved it. So that feels good. Now you feel this safety, almost like security. Yes, I'm solid. The world works like this and everything is right in the world. And that's the only benefit I can really see, is that it's very illusory as well. It's not a real benefit. It's this illusory sense of security. On the flip side of the entitlement coin, however, is the detriments, all the bad things you get. And when you feel entitled, you're essentially saying the outcome has to be at least here or above for me to be happy. Anything less than that or different than that is not going to cut it. So you're going to have a much greater frequency of disappointments, because we're not omniscient. We don't know how things are going to turn out all the time. We rarely know how things are going to turn out. So you're going to be disappointed with a much greater frequency. So you're going to feel disappointment a lot. And then because of your worldview that that's not the way it's supposed to be, you're going to feel an exaggerated sense a heightened sense of emotion. And it's going to be a negative emotion because it's going to be those emotions we talked about, anger and blame and injustice. So you're going to feel the heightened senses of those negative feelings with a greater frequency. And those things are going to play off each other in almost like this like feedback loop. It's going to be a negative feedback loop. So what happens is you're going to feel a focus onto negativity. Negativity is going to become very salient for you because every instance is magnified for you, and they happen with a much greater frequency because you've set the bar, you know. So you're gonna keep focusing on the negative, and that just kind of keeps you feeling down and angry and all that stuff. So what we want to do in this situation is to reframe the way we think, reframe our core beliefs, this belief that we're owed something and then the world is supposed to look like this and work like this. We have to work it back and reframe that. And it takes a little bit of work, but you could see how it can be done because the belief that we know everything, I feel like I'm not out of line saying that that's a ridiculous statement to make. Like, I don't think any person would realistically say, hey, I know exactly how it's going to work. This is how it is. Nobody can really say that. So if you know that you don't know anything, you can toss out this idea. You can start to toss out this idea that things should be a certain way because you don't know how they should be. And that will free you up a lot to experience things without setting a certain bar for the outcome. Now you can experience things and be like, oh, it rained today, but I was going to have a picnic today. Oh, okay, well, let's look at it this way. And you don't have to be so upset about it because the world didn't work just the way you wanted. So there's some tools you can use as far as reframing because it takes some work. It's not just, read a book, read a line on, some Instagram post and then you've got it. It takes some work because you've spent all this time focusing on the negative. So now you have to spend a lot of time doing the opposite, reworking the belief, focusing on the positive, which brings me to one of the points, starting a practice of gratitude. Like, people almost laugh. They're like, oh, that's so corny. It's hugely powerful. Wake up in the morning, do your morning thing, and then just have a journal. Write 3 things every single morning that you're grateful for. And when you write them, boom, pretty soon you'll start to put yourself in that spot while you write it. I'm grateful for this day. I'm grateful for all the love and support around me. I'm grateful for always having all the resources around me, like the water and the food. All right. And then you start your day, just that little bit. It just starts to prime you for the day. Hugely powerful. Highly recommend it to you. Another thing you can do if you're struggling with a sense of entitlement and you notice that you get disappointed often, that's a cue that you might be struggling with a sense of entitlement, is that you often feel disappointed when something happens. What the hell? Why did that just happen? Could it be I wanted it to be a certain way? I thought I deserved this. Let me think about this. Write down those instances and then go back and write down the belief that led to your disappointment. And then you can look at the belief and you can pick it apart and see how distorted it is. It's not true. It's just something you've told yourself, but it's not true. And when you write it down, you can see it and look at it, and you can be like, oh, and you can see the faults in it. Think about the faults in it. And then you can rewrite a belief that's more true. Like, oh, I didn't know what was going to happen. So why am I upset that this didn't happen? I never knew that anything was supposed to happen. So I can just release this idea of injustice and blame. Oh, cool. I'm a little more open now. So those are good practices to use. I recommend them both because the sense of entitlement, it doesn't do anything for you, really. It just holds you back and it hurts you. So if you want any more help or you think you can need support in examining or rewiring certain beliefs you hold, reach out to me anytime. If you have my number, call me, Facebook message me, follow me on Instagram, message me there, and I'll talk to you guys next week.